What is something that was used heavily in the year 2000, but it's almost never used today? Any sort of dedicated music playing device, before that just became a part of your phone. LimeWire. Rewritable CDs. I used to burn so many mixed CDs after downloading from Napster, BearShare, LimeWire, FrostWire. Then my mother would call, disconnecting the internet, and I would have to start the download all over again. Except one file wasn't an MP3, but a virus. I would just reinstall Windows before my mom got home as we saved every picture and document on a zip drive, then those fancy jazz drives. #X200B, also Adobe without a subscription. Download managers start the download right after mom goes to bed, wake up before her to pause the download and disconnect the dial-up connection, resume tomorrow night. Repeat. A week later, you're playing Counter-Strike. And now you can download the torrent in like 2 minutes. The perspective is staggering. A 1080p 30fps video using old 2000 codecs like MPEG-1 at high quality is like 40 MB/s instead of modern H.264/265 being like 8. A YouTube video of that quality takes like 2 minutes today at that quality. In 2000 on dial-up using contemporary codecs would have required 165 hours. The perspective is staggering. A 1080p 30fps video using old 2000 codecs like MPEG-1 at high quality is like 40 MB/s instead of modern H.264/265 being like 8. I remember when Fraps recorded uncompressed video. 1600 by 1200 by 3 bytes per frame is nearly 2 MB per frame, 60 MB per second, 4 GB per hour. And at that time 4 GB were a lot. I seem to have completely garbled the math. It was a lot though. I would use Fraps to record old vanilla World of Warcraft footage, and while waiting for party members I would Alt-Tab and use a different program to compress the behemoth Fraps files down into something much more reasonable. Colored spiky hair gel edit. Lamau, great, I've got this guy to thank for my highest rated comment ever. Bro, I am still waiting for the day frosted tips make a comeback. Honestly man, the kids these days look straight out of the 90s, though most of them seem to think it's original. Wouldn't surprise me if frosted tips are next. Lol, I was at my buddy's last week and his 13-year-old walks out with a 90s haircut, necklace, and t-shirt. Oh no, not those little wooden beaded necklaces. Or the big silver balls if she is alternative in any way. I had to throw mine away at the security gate of a Slipknot, Disturbed, Mudvayne concert. RIP. Once I went to a Slipknot concert in my big blue van and my brother playing the didgeridoo and some other people driving next to us were just way stoked about it. They followed us to the concert. Parked next to us. We're really bummed to realize it wasn't a giant bong. But then they snapped out of it, pulled out their giant bong, and we all got high together and played the didgeridoo in my van prior to the concert. Was ducking ethereal and super weird. Eamon MSN Messenger edit. Sweet Jesus, this blew up. Thank y'all for bringing back even more memories of the late 90s early 2000s, rushing home to fire up the dial-up and start chatting with the same friends that already spent hours talking to that day. To whichever one of you guys sent the silver, you have officially made my day with, if I'm not mistaken, my first ever award. Thank you man. Edit again, wholesome and gold awards too. Much appreciated. I can't believe what I expected to be a throwaway comment that would quickly disappear achieved all this. AOL. Not to my parents. They both still use this shit for their internet, email, and browser. Therese, always a few stragglers. AOL still makes millions from paid email subscription. If you had a big screen TV, it was probably a ridiculously thick rear projection TV. My parents can't get it out of the house. My dad busted it apart to get it out of the house. Spinning under construction GIFs on websites. Remember when most websites had a hit counter on them? And the email address of the webmaster? And a guest book. And crappy mouse cursor following animations that killed your processor's speed but at least looked pretty. Neopets taught me HTML. I had a super pretty shop. MySpace taught me. I wish I had retained what I was learning though. I was too busy changing my theme based on my mood. I was too busy trying to find my next song to blast when you clicked on my profile. Blockbuster card. I live a half hour away from one. Granted, it's the last one, but still. It's surreal walking around that store. Closest thing to time traveling I'll ever get to do. Asl? Too old, not in a while. Over the hill. Over the hill works for both A and L. Maps or MapQuest. My wife calls Google Maps MapQuest. If we need directions, she'll tell me to MapQuest it on my phone. My wife still used MapQuest until maybe 2 years ago when I asked her if she was looking for directions back to 1998. Why does everyone in this town use Alta Vista? VCRS. Tape rewinders. Be kind, rewind. I like the ones that had the form of a sports car. I worked at a Blockbuster. We had rows and rows of rewinders. People were not kind. I remember an eventual switch to don't rewind because the VCRS people had at home were rougher on the tapes than a standalone tape rewinder. Ick. Couple of years ago, I had a number come into my head. Recognized it but didn't know where from. For over a year it kept bugging me. Was it my college enrollment password? Number for someone I worked with when I worked overseas? Not a clue for the longest time. Random convo with a friend about old memes and things we miss about the early internet days, and I just blurted out it's my ducking ick number. With no context edit, forgot to put mine, 132,133,677. GeoCities, Neopets, LiveJournal, Kazaa. Neopets don't die though. I logged in after a long ass time and my Neopet was starving, so I fed it a piece of the omelet and he said yuck, I don't like omelets, so I logged off and let the sassy little bat starve for another 10 years. Zip disks. Remember jazz disks? I was so blown away by a 1 GB disk. This week I got a micro SD card for my Switch. 64 gigs, in a micro card, for less than $20. I really marvel at the advancements in our storage technology just within my lifetime. I still remember back in the day, my father looking at a computer game box and yelling, 10 megabytes? Who the duck needs 10 megabytes for a video game? To personal digital assistants. I still have my Palm Pilot. It was amazing at the time. Whenever I write something down on my hand, I always say out loud, I'll put that in my Palm Pilot. I get a sad chuckle every time. Computer mice with a ball. My friend had one of the first Microsoft IntelliMouse, which did not use a ball. As I recall, it was the first laser mouse without a ball that was commercialized in a popular way. It was released in October 1999. So in 2000, most mice were with a ball, and slowly faded away. Remember having to clean the ball? Who even knows how that much gunk got in there in a relatively short time? It was fun for a minute to play with the rollers that the ball actuated, moving the cursor with your fingers instead of with the mouse. In one of my early college art classes, a fellow student turned in a very mediocre digital illustration for a project. During the group critique, he insisted he should be allowed extra points because he'd lost the ball in his mouse and had done the entire illustration by twiddling his finger in the ball hole. I never got any extra credit for twiddling my fingers in the ball hole either. Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass. Landlines. Also 1-800-COLLECT and 1-800-CALLA dial down the middle. Bob Wada Baba eats a boy. Indoor smoking. My youngish kids marvel at the fact that people used to sit in restaurants and smoke. Phone books. This can basically just be what has our phones replaced calculators, CDs, radios, alarm clocks, MP3 players, GPS units, pieces, to an extent, banks, checks, landlines and payphones. Need I go on? Payphones edit. Yes, I know payphones still exist. Also, I am now very aware payphones are free in Australia. Thank you for informing me. Dial-up. Way you whoa hash badulittle epp hash hashum. Comments you can hear. Pagers edit. Wow, that response caught me off guard. I had no clue. People still think my insulin pump is a pager sometimes.